Hi guys, this is the follow-up video to how to find, locate, research, and select stocks. And this is Phil at the Laptop Trader. Here's our quick disclaimer. I'll leave that up there for 5 or 10 seconds so you guys can just read that real quick. And then we'll get right to the charts, okay? All right, let's get to it. So I'm just going to start real quick for review. This is exactly what I would do on my research day or my homework day. I've already went through the previous video. I had a big list, I think just under 200 stocks, and I've already got my holdings. So between that list, my holdings or my portfolio, and then I determine, well, how many trades can I actually take per my trading plan? So I had a problem when I first started trading with over trading, having too many. So now I have a limit. So this week, the most new trades I can take, unless I close something else out or something stops out or hits target, I can only take one trade this week anyway. So you just have to be selective with that because we all have limited capital. So again, I'm just going to review this real quick. We're going to go through these 5 market ETFs real quick. I've got a side-by-side view for you. Here's a 2-year chart of S&P 500. You can see it came down and recently it's been in this uptrend since about December, January. And then here on the daily, on the right, we can zoom in and maybe find either an entry if you wanted to buy this ETF, or you could find just what is your general um, bias on which way the market is probably headed this week. Okay. So when we look at this, we can see we had a period of consolidation, a fairly wide range, and then it narrowed up here um, in the first week of May, and now it has kind of broken out of that range. So that suggests a continuation of the overall uptrend and a continuation this week of prices. There's no guarantee of that, but that is our bias at this time. So now we're going to just go real quick to the ETF of the NASDAQ. Similar picture on the left, right? Bear market, downtrend, and then reversal. Now we're in an uptrend. On this weekly time frame, we have a nice large candle, a breakout bar over everything below this. So over this pivot too. So that suggests, just on that chart, it suggests higher prices. Now this is getting a little bit extended up here on the NASDAQ, but that doesn't always matter. Sometimes stuff that gets extended can kind of keep getting extended. So this actually was in a consolidation period a few weeks ago and then broke out. So this broke out first before the S&P. So right now I would not consider an entry on this ETF. I would wait to see if we get uh, a better buy setup where I look for my 3-bar turn setup. So this is just suggesting higher prices right now. It could turn around. We did finish the week on a small red bar, but that's very strong index. Then we can go to the Dow Industrials, and we can just see that's weaker than the other two. It did make a bottom back in September, October, came up in quite a strong way. So I think because this came up so strong into the end of the last year, since that time the market has been digesting, well, should this really be that strong? And so it's consolidated, it had this breakdown, it created this low pivot, came back up to the top of the range, and it's since that time has kind of pulled back a little bit. So this looks weaker. I don't think it's going to drop below this pivot. I don't think it's going to go below 320. But let's just take a look at the daily chart, and you can see the strength here. It's kind of consolidating through price and time. This week it had a decent week, but ended on a red bar. So this could go lower and test this for lower end of the range, or it could reverse and turn higher. So this is a little more, kind of neutral to bearish at this time. but I don't think we're going below this 320 area anytime soon. So I'd call that a little more neutral to bearish. The larger, not larger, but the index with more companies than 2,000 companies, Russell 2000, looks quite bearish. It's made this bottom, this double bottom, between last June and October. Made a higher low, but then it retraced to this area. So that looks pretty bad. Um, I would not consider a long entry at this time on this. It's just kind of hanging around this bottom area on the weekly chart, and it's just going back and forth down here, trying to find its legs. Um, this may be the long-term bottom for this index, but it could go either way. We have had some buying over the last few weeks, but then it was rejected. We got another period of buying here that looks like maybe rejected this week, but it could ignore that red bar and go higher. So that is way more bearish to neutral than the other ones. And then finally, I'll just look quickly at the transports. Those actually look a little bit stronger than the Russell. We did have a double bottom between March and April. From that area, prices moved up. And this week we had again a decent week, and we'll see if prices can continue higher over, let's say 230. So our bias on this would be, sometimes you want to expect the best but prepare for the worst. So this could easily retrace down, 5 or 10 points too. So that is a little more neutral and more uncertainty there versus these others. So now let's quickly go to. So I've got these different lists. I've got the ETF list. I've got next week's list, which would be stuff that didn't look too good to me this week, but we don't want to lose track of it. I've got a top heavy tech list, just out of curiosity, is just to see how far and how high some of these tech stocks went, and where they're at now. So that's just more of something I look at. But I'm going to go to this week's list. I probably need to create a few more, maybe like next month's list or other areas or stocks I'd like to own. So let's get to that. So here we've got our list. Okay, so we broke down that list from the big list to stuff that doesn't really look good this week, but maybe to next week, and then we finally whittle it down to this list. Okay, it's in alphabetical order, and it's, I don't know, 40, 50 names tops. Again, I can only take one trade this week unless something else changes. So you don't need a huge list to trade. Um, you just need to focus on stuff that either you think you would like to own or trade, or stuff that comes through some sort of search, like a breakout search or a high volume search, or stocks, let's say over $10 search, or stocks under $20 or something like that. Whatever you want to search for. Maybe you've got a larger account and you don't. I know guys that they won't trade anything under $100. They're they don't want to trade in junk. They want to trade big companies with big dollars for big dollar gains. Well, that's why they do that. So let's start here with Amazon quickly. We're going to go through these charts quick. You guys can let me know if you appreciate the two time frames on the page. I'll show you a trick here in a little bit where you don't have to have two time frames. So weekly, Amazon was in a downtrend. Okay, it has since bottomed out around $80, $81, came back up, sold off, and then ripped. Okay, so this stock has been in this uptrend since really the end of the year, but you don't know that until these other pivots form. So if you were to buy Amazon, let's say based on fundamentals, and you're like, man, Amazon's a steal at 81 or 82 or $83, that's fine. That's a valid way to invest. But I generally watch the charts. So right now, in this last 2 week period, Amazon has kind of went straight up. So for that reason, it's not at the top of my list, because it's kind of extended. I'm I'm going to wait and see if we get another buying opportunity. A good opportunity would have been somewhere in here or here on this chart, or even here in a pullback. But again, I was waiting and deciding if I even want to own Amazon at this time. So if that's something you like, go for it. Let's go to Angie. So Angie recently, you look on the left chart, was in a really, I mean, this one's been in a downtrend for a long time, since 2021. So downtrend, downtrend. This is in the downtrend way before anything else. Well, now it's bottomed out since the end of the year. And so we've come here into April and May, and it's starting to tick up. It ticked up here, but then that kind of failed and came back down and tested this low again. So when you get that double bottom, that's a big deal because that kind of, not in every case, but kind of sets the floor, okay? And when you get that, that's important to watch because that means sellers have kind of went away, and now you can see here on this daily chart how buyers have entered the market in a strong way. So this stock has went from $2 to $3 since April. So that's a pretty strong move. A move that nobody could predict. Um, but again, so now we're going to watch this for this week. We're going to watch two things. We're going to see if this pulls back, or we're going to see if it breaks over these highs and continues higher. You could buy over the highs, but this would be a lower probability trade because it's extended. So I wouldn't necessarily do that. Or you could wait to see if it pulls back and maybe test this large green igniting bar around 280. That was kind of more what I'm looking for on AMG. Block is ETF that I watch. Again, 2-year chart had a peak up here, has come all the way down. Looks like it's bottoming. Key area is right here. In March, we had a sell-off and an immediate reversal. You can see that right here. This sell-off and immediately prices shot back up. So that's a good sign. Looks like we've had a breakout, a pullback, and now we're just kind of slowly grinding higher. We've got some nice big green bars in here. I would set, if I was going to buy this, I would buy this over this area, over maybe like 20, 25. And share size, buy the shares that are appropriate for you. But that's where I would look to enter, over this big green bar. Next, got this on my list. This is BRTX. Again, when we look at this long-term chart, these stocks can bottom out for a long time. This has been in a bottoming pattern since 2021. It's just now starting to turn up. So this one has had a nice run in the last, month or two. We're starting to get some more volume, more larger bars up here. It's had such a big run. I don't know if I would enter this week, but area you could enter would be over these highs, over 575, or it's already gave you a buy setup right here around 5. So it looks like this should continue higher. That's what I liked about this chart. It's already pulled back. It's turned back up again. And it's not I wouldn't call that a super high probability trade, but it looks higher. This one, BZH in the home industry. This is just great uptrend. The only thing I don't really like about this is these pivots to the left. I don't think the risk reward on this is huge, maybe $3 or $4. But if it breaks this high, I would expect it to go higher. If it breaks this low, I would expect it to retrace somewhere in here, which would be a better entry point, maybe around 18. That's our first 5. Now I'm going to switch for you guys. So I'm going to show you a trick to where you don't have to use these longer time frames. Turn off that double view. Okay. This is Citigroup. Now we're going to start to use these moving averages as our longer time frame. So if you look at these 3 lines, here's a red moving average. That's a 100 period. So in this instance, that would be a 100-day. Blue is our 20-period moving average. That's our shorter term price trend. And green, which is our mid-term price trend, that's 50. So I use 20, 50, and red is 100-period moving average. I don't use the 200, which a lot of people use because I think it's a lot of times it's just off the chart. So that's why I use these three. Okay. So, and with this, sometimes it helps to zoom out a little bit. So there's a 6-month chart, daily chart, 3 moving averages, and volume. That's it. So in Citigroup, we can see the longer term trend is pretty flat. And on the shorter term, we can see more of a downtrend or a sideways trend. So if you look from left to right, here's closing prices on the left. We're below where we were 6 months ago. The longer term moving average is starting to turn up. This blue one is kind of turned down and looks lower possibly, and the midterm moving average is moving lower. So on this chart, if we're going to read price action, why this made it to my chart was because I think this could possibly go lower. But we've got support here and support here. So this made it on the list because we just had earnings. And we had pretty decent earnings. So it looks to me like this may have sold off a little too much. We've had a green igniting bar. We've got a bottom and tail bar here, which was kind of a failure to go lower. If this could turn up here, it may be something I'm interested in because it's such a big company. That's why it made my list. So now let's go to the next chart. CLIR. This is was in a consolidation for a long time, and now all 3 moving averages are starting to turn up. We've got a breakout. We've got a confirmed buy setup at the end of the week. I don't like the big topping tail, but that could be more of an anomaly. And on this one, I would have to wait and see for a few days to see what's going to happen with price. But over the high of 150, I would be interested, or maybe a pullback, I'd be interested. Next, clear one, confirm gap, breakout, and looks like this is going to continue to run higher. Candles or the price bars are not huge in size, so this has the potential to run up. So that's why this one made the list. We also have a red 100-period moving average that's sloping up. So this has been in some sort of uptrend for a little bit. So that looks like that could continue as a continuation trade. Comcast had a nice gap breakout on earnings, went up, pulled back, and now has put in another nice green bar, igniting bar with a small follow-through bar. And over the high of that red bar would be another pretty nice entry for Comcast if you like a major company like that. Cinemark, that is in starting to look like that's going into an uptrend. Right now it's consolidating. It's been consolidating since around April 10th. So that could kind of go either way. Break out above that range, could be a buy. Break down below that, could be a sell setup or a stop area. Here is a railroad that came on the list. This one has, it looks like it's starting to trend up. We do have a series of higher lows, higher highs, and it looks like above that area, above 83, could be a decent entry. Corsair Gaming gave us a breakout range expansion bar on earnings, after earnings, and then a buy setup. That looks like a continuation higher. Corsair Gaming. Again, all 3 moving averages are kind of pointing up, so that looks Could be a decent trend there on CRSR. Commercial vehicle group looks similar to the last chart. We've got a nice breakout on earnings, and then a pullback, a buy setup, and now about a 6 or 7 day consolidation. So entry over the highs of that would be a pretty decent entry on commercial vehicle. Dropbox, this is one that's been on my list for quite a while. It's been kind of back and forth, overall flat. But now you can see the three moving averages are all starting to kind of trend up. It's got a nice buy setup there at the end of the week. You could buy over the high of that last candle. It would give you a decent entry. Stop below the pivot there or below the large green bar. That would be a pretty decent risk to reward. It looks like the pressure is pushing up. It looks like, yeah, we have this top, almost this double top area. But if it gets through that, that uptrend should continue on Dropbox symbol DBX. So that's definitely towards the top of my list. Delcath Systems. Again, that looks like this had a breakout on earnings, consolidated for month and a half, and now is breaking out. That looks higher. Again, moving averages, sloping up. So you can see these red moving average, this longer term moving average, excuse me, takes a while to start to turn up. These are just indicators, or these are just like useful tools. It doesn't mean you buy when the price hits the moving average. It's not what these mean. It's just a useful visual tool that says, okay, this gapped up and now it's went sideways for quite a while, and price is kind of starting to curl up with that moving average. And so when you see that, what happens is essentially price moved up too fast. And now the market has had to catch up with it. And that moving average just gives you an indication of, okay, we'll just keep watching, then boom, we've got this breakout. So in 3 days, it went from, almost $1 in price. So you don't have to necessarily hold through these consolidations or buy these consolidations. You can wait till price breaks out. You can buy consolidations, but just remember that consolidations can fail too, and prices can go down. So either way is fine. Looks like a continuation trade on that symbol. I just want to make a quick comment on that. Excuse me. This is kind of a famous company, DraftKings. Um, the chart looks very positive for DraftKings. And this is certainly some igniting volume here on earnings. And then we have this nice pullback. And we had a breakout here over this area. Then we had a nice 3-bar pullback. And then a buy setup, and then another buy setup into earnings. And now we've pulled back. We finished the week on this igniting bar, this 1, 2, 3 setup. Okay, so that looks like a continuation higher. All three moving averages are pointing up. I would caution you, though, on DraftKings from a fundamental point of view. Their earnings aren't improving. So maybe their business revenues are improving or business is growing, but earnings, the bottom line, is not improving. So they had minus 87 cents this quarter, and they had minus 53 cents this quarter. So their earnings are actually getting worse. So that'd be one caution on DraftKings. If they can't turn that around, eventually that will catch up to this company. Drive is just an ETF. Looks like, we've had this double bottom retest here. breakout sideways, and now breaking out again. This looks like this could be a continuation higher, but it has failed in the past. This breakout is over this pivot and approaching this pivot, so just watch on that one. If you enter this as a continuation trade, um, it has been a little bit slower moving ETF, but nonetheless, it does look higher. L Tech Limited. This is one that's on the list because it obviously consolidated forever and then just broke out one day this week, 2 days. So in 2 days, you almost doubled your money. So this is on the watch list to see if this actually fails. It gives us a pullback opportunity or makes it to one of the future watch lists. So no, I would not enter this now. That's on my list for this week to keep an eye on. UXP Realty is on a continuation pattern. See on the bottom, continuation, consolidation, retesting the previous lows over here back in December, breakout after earnings, sideways for 2 weeks, now breaking out again. That looks like a continuation higher. So that looks pretty good. Fortune Brands, similar. One caution on this is it broke out and then failed immediately, so that is a big negative. But if it can ignore that red bar, that I would see that as a continuation higher. Or if it can consolidate in the top of that range and slowly move higher, that would be positive too. But this red bar is a negative on that chart. Longer term moving average on this is flat. So this has had breakouts that failed before. You can see that up and then down and then up. So this could just as easily retrace to the bottom of the range. That would be a possibility or a caution. This one I'm already in, so this for me is going to be add over the highs, stop under these lows. My stop on this is around this area, 144 or so. But for me, that's an add over the highs. You could enter over the highs if you're not in that yet. That looks positive. This is in a nice uptrend, FISV, Fiserv. This is a stock over $100, so this is one that has some a little bit higher price, but you can see all the moving averages pointing up. See this nice move up into earnings. It pulled back, now it's consolidating, kind of following that short-term moving average. So I would say over the highs of this, over maybe 121, 120. Could be a nice entry on that one for a longer term investment. Four-star group, similar. We had a nice breakout here on earnings. Consolidated forever. Gotten extended. Now has consolidated and breaking out. So I like four-star as a continuation higher trade. Glaukos Corp. Similar to the last one, it needs to maybe wait a little bit or continue to cook, as I like to say. Negative would be the large red bar at the end of the week. So look for that maybe as a retracement or a just watch. Okay. Go Health Company has had a lot of back and forth pricing, then all of a sudden um, it's being bought up. I'm not familiar with this company. After this earnings report, it was sold off, and now this earnings report actually had negative earnings on the bottom line. It went sideways and then just ripped. So this one is more of a watch for me. It's at resistance here on the left. I would expect this to pull back, and I don't like the earnings. So that's on the list to see just kind of what happens with that. it's had such a huge move. Somebody sees something that they like about that company. So maybe that'd be a situation for more information or more homework on that one. Google is continues to go higher. I believe it's getting extended. If I see a day, a large day of selling in Google, I would consider, um, for me, I would consider selling an option above the high as an income trade, or watch Google to see if it retraces somewhere down here to 110, 111, 112 area, maybe. Garmin has been around for quite a while. This has had a lot of sideways price action this year. Now it's breaking out and consolidating again. So I like this as a consolidation entry or enter over these highs as a continuation trade. But it looks like this moving averages and the market's going to have to catch up to Garmin. But it does have a longer term uptrend. This period it started pricing at about 91, so now we're up at 104. So Garmin looks to be a continuation of an uptrend if you like Garmin. Heritage Global Company looks like it had a long time to consolidate and now it's breaking out. I like that. So that could be a continuation trade. All the moving averages are pointing up, so that's another positive. Harmonic Company, symbol HLIT. Breakout on earnings. Looks like that's continuing higher. Some people would refer to this as a flag pattern where you break out and then you get this flag. A lot of times these flags will actually drift lower. So this has quite a bit of strength to it. That looks higher. That's very strong. But again, watch your position size and use a stop for sure, because that could also drop too. IAA Inc. This is on the list because it looked like the trend was turning up. Okay, all these lines were turning up, and then it failed. And then we got this big green igniting bar at around 37.50, and now this is more of a traditional bull flag. I'm not 100% sure about this, but when this ignites and then it consolidates like that, it's been consolidating for over a week. This could turn up like that. That's one that I would consider purchasing over the high of that green bar. Let's say over 42 would be a consideration because that's quite a bit of volume coming into this name. So that looks like that was sold for some reason. Now it's being bought up again. More of a buy setup than a continuation on that. ICE. This one is consolidated for a while. It looks like this one kind of follows the market. Had this volatility in here. April and May. Now it's consolidated again towards the highs. This could continue higher. But I would need to see more evidence that's going to continue higher on ICE. So that's why that's on the list. Immunovant. Closing breakout with a 1, 2, 3 setup. So that looks higher. This is I believe, a South American company. I believe this made the list because it had pretty good earnings. Yeah, 14 cents and 15. So this does have earnings. This is on the list because it broke out, pulled back some more, and then broke out again. So this looks like if we could get a nice 3-bar turn in here, this is one. That's why it's on the list. I would consider this. We had a nice big green igniting bar in here between like 535 and 550. That's why it's on the list. This move, the negative on this one is I don't really like this moving average where it's kind of flat. And it is turning up a little bit. The 50's turning up. The 20's definitely turning up. So we do have a series of, like these higher lows. If this turns out to be the next higher low, that would be, I think, a pretty good entry. But that is a foreign company, so as long as you're comfortable with that, that's a possibility. Johnson Controls looks like it had some definite selling to it. We've recently put in a higher low, another higher low, a breakout, gap up, and now we're going sideways, and we're starting to make some higher lows and higher highs here. We just had earnings, so it looks like that information has made its way through the market. Um, Purchase above this high bar here, over 64, maybe and a quarter. Could be a decent entry, but watch it. If it starts selling off early in the week, I would stay away. This is electric vehicle ETF. This has been in kind of a more of a downtrend. It's showing a little signs of life here with this low and a couple of higher lows. So this is what I'm watching because it's kind of consolidating and moving slowly up. If we get it like an igniting green bar, that's why it's on the list. Looking for some sort of breakout or sign that this is really become in favor with the market. This one is on the list because it basically almost doubled in price. And I would probably have to do some more research on this before I entered it to see what happened or why that took place. But it's consolidated since March. So that is a possibility over the highs, but also it could be, you see a chart pattern like this, sometimes these mean the company's being bought out or sold off by the parent company. So this would definitely involve some more research into that one. Kroger, which is a big grocer, looks higher. Looks like it's consolidating towards the highs and had a small, very small candle there, almost a closing breakout on Friday. So above that looks higher. Li Auto is a electric vehicle foreign company. That looks like it had a gap breakout on earnings, and that is now consolidating for the past week. So above those highs could be a purchase. Here we've got Dorian LPG. This looks like we've got what we were looking for. We have this big consolidation now breaking out. So buy that candle or buy over the highs of that candle. Dorian LPG looks higher. Mara. This is related to Bitcoin. Had kind of a broke out, gapped up several days, and then sold all the way back down. Now it's consolidating again. This could go either way. So that's just on the watch list to see which way it goes. Meta has been in a very strong uptrend, as you can see, consolidating again. Because it's a more expensive stock, candles will look smaller, but this looks very positive. Like that could just continue going higher. MJ, which again, marijuana ETF, that looks like it's maybe getting towards the bottoms. I would not buy this now, but it's on the watch list to see if there's any major change in that ETF. Not a buy for me now, just a watch. This is Morphosis Company, ADR, so foreign company. Got a breakout, gap up, went sideways, gapped up, went sideways, and gapped up again, going sideways. This looks like a continuation higher. I like that closing on Friday. That's very strong. Micron was on my list, and I actually owned it earlier in the year. Sold it, and now it's starting to move up again. So Micron is definitely one of those large semiconductor companies that is possible purchase. Netflix has been one of the stronger companies this year. Closing gap up and breakout of Netflix. Purchase on that one could be over the highs of that. Netflix looks positive. One negative about Netflix is you have this resistance over here. If you see a bar start really selling off on this, I would not buy that. So that's be a watch for a few days on that one. NextGel looks nice closing bar on Friday, closing above all these highs, all this consolidation. The only thing it didn't get above is this large bar over here, but that's a pretty solid looking bar. That looks higher. Opera Limited, this is a foreign company. This is in a nice uptrend, cheaper stock. Had a nice buy set up here. And now it just looks like it's breaking out again over these highs. So that looks like a buy, possibly on Monday for me. Oracle has been another very strong performer this year in an uptrend. And it looks like that is going to continue. Open text, I'm in this one. This looks like a nice move after earnings. Gapped up, closed up, and then pulled back, and is now looks like that uptrend in OTEX is going to continue. So that's one I'm in now. That's for me maybe an ad this week. Hags Company. This is one that wasn't a nasty downtrend. You can see the red line pointing down. See that? And now recently it's moved up. So this one is consolidating. A break below that consolidation would be considered negative. Continued consolidation would be positive, or a break above that would also be positive. So that's not a bad one to keep your eyes on. It is a little bit extended, but could go higher. Palantir. This has been on my list all year. You can see how flat moving averages. Why I haven't entered it yet. But now after this earnings report, it's gapped up, gave us a buy setup, and it's kind of ripped higher. So this looks higher. Watch for a pullback or some consolidation on PLTR. Pentair is definitely on my list. It's a bigger company, more established company. All the moving averages are starting to trend up. That looks like a positive long-term investment for the rest of the year. One caution would be this area it sold off before, but this looks very strong. If it was going to sell off, it probably should have sold off by now. That's 2 to 3 weeks of price action. And the PRG, this one again looks higher. So you guys can take a look at that one. Next, Radiant Group. See what that's on the list. Again, I'll just let you guys look at these. I've made enough comments. This is everything that's on this week's list for me. So that one's a pretty nice uptrend. I really like that one. RELY. Riot, also related to Bitcoin. That could go either way. So use some caution on these ones with Bitcoin. I hope you guys are also starting to see the minor differences between each chart and each company, okay? It almost doesn't matter what the price is of the company. The charts look similar but different. So just you need to look at the details in the context of the markets and these companies. This is what I do to grow my investments And it takes some homework, it takes some time, but I think it's been worth it for me. I hope it will be worth it for you if you have an interest in this. Is Shopify. Shopify has definitely been on my list this year. It's finally starting to really move up. So I like Shopify. I like that pattern. Let's keep moving. If you guys need to pause it and study these, go ahead. Or bring these up on your own platform or your own computer. I know you can get free charts on Google. If you don't have a platform, just use basic search. You can get a chart in 10 seconds. Like shoes, Skechers. I don't like that closing bar on Friday. That needs to reverse back up, but it isn't an uptrend, so could be a buy setup. That's a nice closing gap breakout on Friday for SLNO, Selena. Vanex Semiconductor. If you like the whole industry, semiconductors, that looks very positive. TJX. That's been sideways for quite a while, so watch for maybe a move one way or the other on that one. Sterling. That has a nice closing breakout. I hope you guys can also see that regardless of the size of your account, regardless of where you're at in your investing path, there is way more opportunity than if once you can see it. There's so much opportunity, you won't have enough money to invest in all the opportunities that are out there. So you have to be selective. There's so much opportunity, you actually have to select the best opportunities for you. I hope you guys are seeing that. 10-cent music. More going sideways. I do not like how that ended the week. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. Trade desk, I'm already in. That could be an ad over the highs for me. Uber, it's definitely starting to move up. That I really like that chart. It looks like we are going to probably have to come to the end of this program. Unless I can plug this in. Even the laptop trader has to plug in his laptop. Oh, it's like danger, danger. So Uber, I really like because that had a Uber got beat up pretty good too in the sell-off. That is now trading over this pivot high right here. Can you guys see that? So that looks great. Uber looks higher regardless of fundamentals. Out of insurance holdings, that looks like it's continued uptrend. I don't really know how to say that other than Unum Provident Corp, UNM. That made my list because that looks like breakout to a new uptrend. Upbound Group. So take a quick look at that one, see what you think. Universal Stainless, USAP. Take a quick look at that. See if that fits in your trading plan. So what I would do if I was a new investor after this video is over, I would either put these symbols in my platform, review them, or just go back over this video and pause it. Study these charts. Most of these charts are in either new uptrends or continuing uptrends after we had a major bear market. So I think there's a lot of opportunity here for you guys. I hope this helps you out. Vertex, this is one that I do own now. That looks to me like a continuation higher. I'm probably going to add to that over Friday's or Monday's high. Do some research on these companies. Go through this list 2, 3, 4 times until maybe 2 or 3 pop out at you that really look the best for you. Again, there's more opportunity here than there is for most people. You take a list of 40, 50, 60 charts and you whittle it down to 3 or 4 or 5 that you can really focus on for the week. I think that should help you guys out in your trading and investing. This is a foreign company, telecommunications. I think Brazil, Sao Paulo. But that looks like it's going into an uptrend. I guess they need phone service down in Brazil also. Verax Imaging. This is a company I haven't heard of, but it came up through my search. That looks pretty a possibility as a continuation higher, if it can get moving higher. It's had a couple weeks to consolidate. Vishay Technology, that looks like it's already kind of made the turn up. Yeah, we're closing over all this consolidation. We're closing over this major pivot, and it actually pivoted almost right in that area, so that looks higher. Vertra Systems, symbol VTSI. Wendy's, if you like hamburgers, if you like Wendy's, this is a possibility. I like this one because it came up and then it consolidated through price and time since December. This thing's been going kind of moving down since December, and now it's finally kind of broken out. Can you guys see that where it's broken out? It's even made a turn here. I don't like the red bar Friday, that big red bar, but you know, it was a gap up above the highs and then it sold off. So if this could reverse course and go higher, whether through one bar or a couple bars this week, that would definitely be one I'm interested in. Wendy's, symbol WEN. This is the Home Builders ETF. This has been in a pretty strong uptrend this year, Home Builders. Again, similar to Wendy's, I don't like close Friday, but that could change. And then the technology ETF. If you want to purchase something cheaper than the NASDAQ, this is one way to do that. Symbol XLK. You guys can research what companies are within that ETF, okay? See if that's for you. That is some major companies in that ETF. Zedge, this came through a search. I have not heard of the company, but looks like I don't necessarily like it for this week, other than two things. One, it's been sideways to down forever, but it made this long-term double bottom. It's come up, and now recently it's broken out, and it's kind of giving us this little, somewhat of a flag pattern, I guess. If you were to draw a stick and then sideways there. Um, but it's also going back and forth. So you got the red, the green bar, then the red bar. If we could get a breakout over that, that's why that's on the list. It's not the best area, but it's not a big company. But if that's something you like to trade, smaller companies, smaller price stocks, this is one to maybe watch. See what happens with that. Finally, Zoom, ZM. The stock has definitely been sold off considerably. Um, Still has a longer term moving average going lower. In fact, all three are going lower. So this is more of a, it's on the list this week because we've had a nice move up over the past few weeks. You see these kind of taking the steps up. It's accelerated into this area where it could sell off. But if it sells off just a little bit and then turns higher, that's what I'm looking for. So maybe we don't get, a sell off back to the bottom, but we just get like a sell off to maybe half of that or less, maybe the $65 area, and then turns up. That's what I'm looking for in Zoom. Not necessarily an entry now, but it has shown some strength over the past several weeks. So that is it, guys, for this week. If that helps you, consider sharing this channel, liking this channel, and subscribing to Laptop Trader on YouTube. That's all. Take care now. Bye.